Elizabeth, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I will. So thank you all for coming this evening. My name is Elizabeth Hanley-Zabo, and I'm the mother of two Elk Meadow Elementary students. I know our community has a lot of questions, and I'm hoping we can get through them, so I'll try to make this brief. I just wanted to let you know a little bit about how our group got started and why we are here. And to kind of go off of Mr. Bushberg there, I also wanted to add that I'm definitely not a scientist remotely, but I am the daughter of a PhD scientist, and I know the importance of doing your own homework. That's important to me. That was instilled in me as a child, and I base my research not on media articles, but on studies that have been published in peer-reviewed journals. And I know that I also can't speak specifically to all those studies because I'm not a scientist, but just to set the record straight, that's where I got my information from. So to just recap a little bit of what Chris Piper said about why we're here, this is more about how our group is here. In 2017, the City of Bend issued a permit allowing the construction of this cell tower on private property directly next to our children's school. Only landowners within a 750-foot radius of the tower were notified, and as Councilor Piper mentioned, the Southwest Neighborhood Association was also notified, although they did not disseminate the information. I think that's been addressed already. This included the school district being notified, but they did not disseminate that information to either the school's staff or parents of the students. The vast majority of parents and staff only found out about the tower when its construction began this past July. Because parents didn't know then, 2 years ago, and so weren't able to express their concerns to the city before the permit was issued, we, now over 1,600 of us on this petition, are appealing to you, Verizon Wireless, to relocate the tower to a farther distance from the school. This probably isn't how anybody would like to have gone about this in an ideal world, but here we all are. Now, it's our group's understanding that the tower meets FCC safety guidelines, but we are gravely concerned that those guidelines are outdated and do not take significant information into account. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, I'm certainly not an expert on this matter. This isn't my job. I'm just a concerned mom. But it's my understanding that the current FCC exposure limit was adopted in 1996, over 20 years ago, and only took into account thermal effects and ionizing radiation, which seems to be just a piece of this puzzle. With the amount of technological advances and major increase in the use of myriad wireless devices, not to mention the huge amount of research on biological effects of this type of radiation that's been conducted since this 1996 studies or guidelines were set, to me, this is extremely outdated. Not to mention, in FCC compliance testing, it's my understanding that they use the model of a 220-pound male, a far cry from my 40-something-pound 5-year-old daughter. Research repeatedly indicates that the radiation penetrates deeper into children's smaller bodies and brains, and to my knowledge, the current FCC exposure limits did not consider the higher energy absorption in children. Children's bodies are developing and their cells are still being divided. It's one of the worst possible times in their lives to be exposed. Almost done.
Take your time.
That is why I believe that letting this tower go into operation and allowing our children to continue to go to school next to it 6.5 hours a day, 5 days a week, 28 weeks a year, we, all of us, as parents, community members, lawmakers, and companies of the telecommunication industry, we have failed our children. It is our job to keep them safe. We are in this together. Not just we, but we, as in all of us. We're in this together. I am here asking you today to please join us in doing all that we can to keep our children safe and healthy. Now, if you can convince me that beyond a reasonable doubt their children will not be put at risk by having this cell tower in operation directly next to their school, that would really be fantastic. But unless I'm totally wrong here, you can't provide that kind of guarantee. You can't make that kind of blanket statement because, at best, the evidence is inconclusive. And that is what really keeps me up at night. Why would we take this risk with our children, whose job it is, all of ours, to protect? So with that, thank you again for being here. Let's get on with our questions, and I'm going to turn the microphone over to Paul Bacon, and then we'll get to the kids.
I'm going to try to do this without the mic because I need 2 hands to for my notes. So.
Is there a question at the end?
Yes,
Okay,
there are.
just saying.
Yes,
because
I promise
that's
you
what
questions.
he's here for, is to
Yes.
help answer some of these questions
Yes,
for you.
yes.
Okay.
We have questions. I have questions. Okay. So, Ms. DeShazer, Dr. Bushberg, Ms. Barrett, thank you for coming. My name is Paul Bacon. I'm a parent of 2 Elk Meadow students, and I'm here with this group to start an official dialogue with Verizon. I have 2 requests for this esteemed panel. My first request is for Ms. Barrett. Ma'am, I have in my possession a compilation of public scientific studies about the human health effects of long-term exposure to radio frequency radiation from cellular towers. It is a partial compilation because our group has not had time to review all of the relevant data. The compilation contains published reports of studies performed by scientists working around the world. It has been reviewed by a volunteer consultant to our group who has a master's degree in public health and more than 25 years of experience in basic science and medical research administration. The consultant has made recommendations as to which of the published studies we should present to you as we make our case. In addition, we are actively seeking to engage with genuine experts in related fields to assemble a body of data to base current and future decisions regarding children's health and RF radiation. Okay, for the record, this compilation consists mostly of abstracts, which are summaries of studies, usually less than a page long. There are 25 studies in here, and there are 85 pieces of paper. If all of these studies were printed in full, the stack would probably be about this high. Okay. Now, I have not printed out every page because these abstracts serve as placeholders. I am confident the experts who work for Verizon will know how to obtain the full versions of these studies because they are published and come from such sources as this one on top from the U.S. National Institutes of Health, which is 300 pages long in its full form. Okay, so Ms. Barrett, my request to you is this. Will you accept service of these copies and abstracts of scientific studies on behalf of Verizon?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. One more question. Will you also accept service of our supplemental compilation of public studies, which we hope to have completed soon?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And Colleen knows how to get it to you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Okay, my second request is to Ms. DeShazer or Dr. Dr. Bushberg. Okay. Whichever of you feels you can respond. We request that you provide copies and/or abstracts of all the sources of your standards and guidelines into the health safety issues that apply to the cell tower now standing next to our kids' elementary school. We request that you do this in 30 days. Will you grant this request?
I can't answer that because I don't know if that can be compiled. That's not my bailiwick, but I will absolutely take the question back and give you an answer as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. Okay, those are my questions. And you can pass that on.
Ready?
First of all, thank you for letting us speak on all the kids' behalf. We care about this probably more than a lot of other people.
Introduce yourself.
Our names are Fiona Clark and
Ava Runner.
and we are 5th graders who go to Elk Meadow Elementary. Our school has 3 big goals to help us learn and work well. These rules are to be safe, kind, and responsible. The cell tower being put up interferes with all 3 of these rules. Number 1, be safe. We don't know everything about cell towers. It isn't a great idea to put it up right next to our school. Number 2, be kind. The arguments the cell tower causes makes it really hard to be kind to each other. 3, be responsible. it isn't responsible to put a cell tower right by a school. We're students, not test subjects. We started thinking that we're not really sure how the cell tower is going to go, but we know that any damage the cell tower causes is 10 times worse for kids. And so I don't think it's a great idea to put it next to a school. Thank you. Sincerely, the young activists.